in between the social networks and guys like you who picked up on this, and you're not the only person. And we all, have been enjoying these guys on these sports talk shows for years, listening to them, calling and supporting. But for some reason, these general managers, these program directors, Gavin Spittle, Sports Radio 610, John Granado and his regime at 1560 The Game, David Tepper at 97.5 ESPN The Ticket, and Brian Erickson at Sports Talk 790. These guys are not responding and doing what they need to do to be a little bit more proactive in imaging and marketing these stations and making sure that everybody's represented, and I mean women too. You turn on ESPN, what do you see? You see a little bit of everybody. So
exactly.
What the hell is wrong with these sports talk stations,
Yeah, exactly. And, now that I'm listening to, I've been listening for years, and, Jim Rome was on the cutting edge. And then when he started blowing up, I'm a big fan of his. And then after that, everybody wanted to be the next Jim Rome. And I was like, what the hell are they doing? They totally going on his, trying to do his thing when there's there's plenty out there for people to cater to. And I was like, what the hell is it? Every station is trying to do that same shtick or whatever the hell they're doing. And it's just really irritating.
Yeah, well, I think sports talk media is no different than any other forum in life. The NFL is a copycat league. Keem Olajuwon came to the Rockets, and NBA scouts were suddenly in Nigeria all the time looking for basketball players. And sports talk is no different. Jim Rome had enormous success, like you alluded to, and you look at the age of the Adam Clintons, Matt Jacksons, guys of that ilk and that age group. Well, those guys in broadcasting grew up on Jim Rome. Adam Clinton, who's with Local 2, who I used to do, when I was still with 610, hosting my Sunday show, the Sunday Block Party. I did the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock hour on Fridays with Adam Clinton as a guest on his show. And one thing about Adam is, I heard Adam the other day on 790 filling in for Dylan Gwynn. And Adam's entire show was doing Jim Rome impersonations. I mean, those guys just came up in that era of radio, and they just were part of that Jim Rome, brand of radio. I was a fan of his for a couple of years, but his routine kind of played out on me, man. I have a take and don't suck and don't read your takes when clearly his entire shows were scripted. Travis Rogers, who you guys had on recently, was the writer for all of that stuff. So I found Jim Rome to be a phony, man, and that just kind of played out with me, Bodie.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. But, Adam Clanton, I like him. He's a real nice guy, and he just was filling in. So, I know he wouldn't do that. He was just pleasing his listeners that day. But what do you look for in a talk show, or what are you trying to create with your show?
Well, two questions. What do I look for in a show when I'm listening? You know what? I'm a guy that I just like compelling personalities. I can appreciate the Adam Wexlers of the world and Charlie Palillos of the world, who are really more informational cats, not so much opinionated people, even though Charlie and Wexler won't run from an opinion. But they're known, we all are kind of who we're known for, and they're we've kind of coined the phrase Googleist, guys who appear to retain a lot of information, but clearly no one retains that information. I mean, that type of information. These guys are very good with keeping up with things online, and they can access it at a higher clip than most guys who work. A lot of guys, when we're on the air and you guys, people call in with questions. Some guys are better at accessing information in that brief 90-second timeline that the average caller is on with, whereas other guys are more comfortable engaging you and maybe going back and forth with a little dialogue, and then maybe after you hang up, researching some information relative to your call. But me personally, I'm more of a guy that I seem to trend more toward the guys that are more lightning bolt type guys, guys that have stronger opinions, more so than these, like I say, the guys that just give you a bunch of statistics and things like that. In regard to the new show with myself and Marcus Coleman, Marcus, the former defensive back with the New York Jets, Texans, and Cowboys. As a matter of fact, Marcus and Aaron Glenn were the best corners we've ever had on this team. I don't think anybody can disagree with that as a tandem.
Yeah, exactly.
But Marcus has been doing some radio the past year over there on 1560 The Game with John Granado and that crew of guys over there. And Marcus is a Texas Tech Red Raider, and of course my brother Red Raider Kevin played ball at Texas Tech as well. So that was kind of a natural marriage for me and Marcus to become associates. And I was already over at KCOH doing the Tuesday show with Ralph Cooper, which is sports rap. Guys can listen on Tuesdays from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock at KCOH 1430 AM, KCOHradio.com. On Tuesdays 5 to 6 that I do that guest spot with him there. And so I started talking to KCOH about doing my own thing over there on Sundays. I wanted to get back on the air on a regular basis, and I thought it would be a good idea to come back on a Sunday, which is where I was known for being at when I was on Sports Radio 610. It was Sunday night, 6 o'clock to 9. So we're getting pretty close to launching this show. This new show will be called The Cut. Ask yourself, can you make the cut, Bodie? I'm sure you could. We're going to be a high energy, fast paced sports and entertainment show. We will be heavy sports, but we will dibble and dabble in hip hop culture, pop culture. If there is some relevant topic that's not necessarily sports entertainment, but it is a relevant issue, we won't run from it. This is not Glenn Beck now. We're not trying to be a political show, but if something comes up that's relative and it's just a hot topic and we can't get away from it, if a hurricane comes through the city and tears up the city, we're not going to go on there and talk sports and hip hop and pop culture and ignore the fact that our city's being ripped apart. So we want to be a conversation show, a timely, topical show, but it'll be high energy, and obviously with me and Marcus, it'll be a heavy sports content. And we'll be announcing the launch day real soon, and I'll be on Twitter begging you guys to retweet.
You know, you got it. Hey, let me ask you some questions about yourself in particular. What everybody wants to know is, I think I gave a background on the Lesbian Craig. Get the story behind that, how you got the name.
The caller moniker Lesbian Craig, I heard you earlier, and you were pretty close to it. It kind of came to pass twofold. Back when John and Lance, who are the morning show hosts at 1560 Game, back when they were in their heyday over at Sports Radio 610, where they really had that big success at, I was a regular caller, obviously, to that show, and I kind of got my reputation as a caller. I wasn't the guy that was going to call up and tell you, great show and kiss your ass for 30 minutes and then give you a 20-second take. I wasn't going to call and kill a guy just for the sake of killing him, but I sat back and listened to a lot of bull crap, basically, man, from these cats on the air every day, and just from one perspective. And I just kind of got tired of listening to it. And I remember something happened in one of the urban communities where there was an incident where a police officer killed a 17-year-old kid. And Cornell X showed up out there in the community, and he investigated it and went on air and made a statement that it was a justified shooting by the police officer because it was actually a suicide by cop, which was completely accurate. And of course, Cornell has a reputation for being a brash speaker and with the racial undertones and all of that type of thing. But this was a situation where he stood up for the police officer. Well, apparently Sports Radio 610, the John Lance show, and Jeremy Foster was a member of the cast at that time, who I love. Jeremy's the great guy.
Yeah,
they were commenting on the story, but they didn't have the facts right. And probably what happened was they did what most people did. They heard the name Cornell X, and they got nervous, and they assumed right away that he was making some type of a racial tension out of a police officer shooting, and he started reeling in on Cornell X. Well, I grew up with Cornell X. Cornell X, myself, rapper Scarface, rapper Lil Flip, we all grew up in the same little small neighborhood along with State Representative Ron Wilson. And I called into the show. That was my first ever call. And I called in and I asked Jeremy, did he know Cornell X personally? And he told me, well, he didn't. I said, well, I do. You misrepresenting the guy. And I gave him the facts of the case. And to make a long story short, Jeremy was apologetic. And so I became, after that point, I started calling the show regularly. And John Granado and I didn't get along too well. John is pretty good about making fun of people, guys like Gilbert, Mike and Derry Ashford, or Brad Spring Bench,
Yeah.
but John can't take it too much. So I was an antagonist, and I would call John an antagonizer because I knew he was temperamental and kind of a wuss. So I called up one morning and I said, "Hey, John, man, I don't think you're too good at what you do, man. I think I could do what you do." He says, "Oh yeah." I said, "Yeah, I think I can just show up unprepared and ramble on like a damn drunk at 6 o'clock in the morning." I said, because I have a thespian background, which I did. I was doing professional theater at 16. So John takes my thespian comment and he comes back at me with a play on words and says, "Well, I don't know what you being a lesbian has to do with anything." I said, "Oh, okay," and he hung up on me. So I called back to the show a couple of days later, and the call screener picks up, and you know the routine, Bodie. "Yeah, what's your name and where you calling from?" I say, "Well, this is Lesbian Craig." So I say, "Yeah, this is Lesbian Craig, Cheryl Swoop's husband." So from that day forward, man, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. Or, man, I did say tongue-in-cheek and lesbian in the same sentence, but you get my point. From that point on, man, it just kind of took off, man. And, and I was, Bodie, I'm a sincere fan when it comes to Cheryl Swoops, man. So, yeah, that's kind of where it all came from, man. It was just a little play on words with me and John Granado, and it just kind of took off from there. And interesting enough, when I talked to 610, maybe a year or so later, about my own show, I was surprised when they told me that they wanted me to run with the Lesbian Craig moniker. They didn't, they didn't want me to come out the gate with the Craig Shelton. They wanted me to go by Lesbian Craig. So I was kind of surprised, but I kind of understood the shock value of it, and getting the guy going in radio. So that's kind of the story with that, man.
Yeah, man. See, that's your brand, and my brand is Boat in Pearland, man. I'm running with that. I came up with that name just being a caller to Jim Roman. And he liked what I did, and hell, ever since then, I've been voting Pearland. But I want to ask you another question. You had a stint, didn't you, on 610, or didn't you have a stint on the radio stations?
Yeah, like I said, and it all kind of derived from the Lesbian Craig thing, being a listener on John and Land's show, and then when I met with 610 about a year or so after that, and a couple of years after that, and talked to the program director, Bill Van Reinsdam, about a couple of projects I was working on in the city. At the time, I was working on a sports television show for an independent TV network, and I wanted to try to marry a sports talk show into the concept. And Bill liked the idea of having a kind of a different show, a different flavor with an urban feel to it. So I had an opportunity to meet with him, and then meet later with General Manager Laura Morris, and they awarded me the show. So I was on 610 for 2 years, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock Sunday nights. It was a great opportunity for me. It was able to get me kind of going well, I wouldn't say kind of going. It was 3-hour show a week on a station that's market's #1 sports talk station. So it was a huge opportunity and blessing for me, kind of coming in an unorthodox fashion. I was well versed in radio from the music side of from my from my work in the hip hop business as a producer and writer, but sports talk also was a different dynamic. But I teamed up with my good friend and former promotional and marketing director from 97.9 The Box, Bobby Z. And Bobby had 20 years experience. Yeah, he was experienced. So, the show was a good opportunity. And when I left 610, I did some stuff for Sports Talk 790 for a couple of months. And I've done some guest appearances and stuff in Philly and spots over 1560 The Game. With on Ken Hoffman and David Nuno's show when they were together and doing their thing. So, and of course doing my thing over at KCOH, where I will be landing and launching our new show over the next few weeks. So, yeah, that's you are correct though. Yeah, I did have that 2-year stint with CBS Radio, Sports Radio 610, which is the affiliate that broadcasts Jim Rome, weekdays.
Hey man, to tell you the truth, man, that was a golden opportunity for 610 to do something really that's needed to be done, man. And I don't think you were marketed right as far as them trying to target the audience. Because as I was reading, 97.9 The Box has a huge following. And you were trying to incorporate that following into the sports talk, right? Incorporate those two genres, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, Bodie. I don't know if you realize what you just said, but you actually just put it in a nutshell. But I'll take it a step farther. I wasn't marketed at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. You weren't marketed at all, and they missed a huge.
Let me clarify something on that, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea with that, because that's a separate argument from my argument in regard to the hiring practices. I don't want to gloss the industry with one broad stroke, because people misunderstand something about me. People appreciate my straightforwardness, but some people don't appreciate it when I'm being critical of people. But that's too bad. But the reason they didn't market me and promote me, but they don't market and promote any weekend shows. That's just typical in radio. So let me be clear on that. It wasn't like that was any discrimination towards me in that regard. Bill Van Rysdale was treated me wonderful, but it was just an oversight on his part. And be honest with you, weekend broadcasting and programming is not where stations make their money. They make their money Monday through Friday with the morning and drive time shows. So that's where all of the marketing and promotional energy and resources go into. The weekends is more, fill-in programming and filling space, but it's a good opportunity to put on niche shows, and this is where the market is dropping the ball, Bodie. It gets back to what you're talking about. There's no excuse for these stations if you're not comfortable, if you're still dinosaurs in your perspective on how to market and image a sports talk station, because clearly they're behind the times, and I'm going to make an example for you here in a minute. But the weekends are a perfect opportunity. If you can put Tom Tynan on for 3 hours to talk about plumbing on a sports talk station, why not plug in some urban shows, or some Latin-based shows, or shows of, if that's where you can try some of the different things, and you can kind of kill off some of these stations, don't seem to want to hire this person or that person or this gender or that gender. Put some of that programming on the weekend, and you can kind of use your weekend as kind of a test market, so to speak, because that's not what drives your ratings. If your weekend ratings are driving your station, you're going out of business, because that's just not radio. So that's a good point you made about the marketing, that where they kind of missed the boat on it. I'll give you an example. You talked about 97.9 The Box. I think if you would take a poll of most 15 to 18-year-old youth that were sports fans, and if you looked in Houston, you took some 116-year-olds that liked the Texans and liked the Rockets, and were Texan Rockets and Astro fans. Now, if you took that same group of teenagers, and let's make that same group of teenagers all white, okay? So now we have 100 white 16-year-old teenagers that are all sports fans. Now, if you ask each one of those 16-year-old white kids, where is 97.9 on the radio dial? I would imagine 75 to 85% of them can take you straight to 97.9 The Box.
Yeah, that's true.
If you would ask those same 100 white 16-year-old sports fans, can you find a sports talk station for me? Any one of them. They'll probably tell you no. They don't watch sports, but they're not really sports talk radio listeners. Are you with me, Bodie?
I hear you. Yeah, exactly.
But they can tell you what 97.9 The Box is, because 97.9 The Box is a household brand. It's known in households all over the city, no matter what race you are. 97.9 The Box is not just because of the music, but it's because of they've entrenched themselves in the community, because they interact timely with the community. I remember a 12-year-old kid being shot for his bicycle by a crackhead. And Bobby Z was at the box at the time. And I remember the box responding right away, going out to the neighborhood, raising money. I remember the box when they had the earthquakes in California, reacting right away and collecting water here in Houston and taking vans and driving that water across country to California to take those goods. My point is they're interactive and they reach out to every facet of the community. Sports talk stations say we have to image toward our primary demo, which is white males 25 to 54. So our morning shows need to be all white guys. Our drive time show needs to be all white guys. Well, I'm here to tell you, Bodie, that is ridiculous. So what are you trying to say? Are you trying to tell your sponsors? Are you micromanaging your sponsors' social maturation process? Are you telling your sponsors because they're primarily white that they don't have the wherewithal to accept non-whites talking sports? That's ridiculous.
Hell yeah, preach on, man. That's the damn truth right there, man.
97.9 The Box core demographic is black folks. But if you turn on the morning show, they've got Jimbo, who's a white guy the last I checked. They've got a female on that show. But for some reason, the sports talk stations are afraid to cast people that are not a part of their core demo. Yes, you have to market towards your core demo. That's where the brunt of your finance is going to come from. But you do not alienate entire other facets of the listening market. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous to do that. And that's what these sports talk stations have done. In 97.9, The Box by themselves have more than 3 times the ratings of all 4 sports talk stations combined. Combined.
Yeah, and you know it's a funny thing because I listen to a lot of rap. And when the call is called in and you can see the demographic, you'll have a Hispanic person call, hey, it's my birthday, and then, you know, play this song. And then you have another person. It's a mixture. And they're doing it right, man. They're 97.9 is doing it. They're exactly what they're doing. They're in the community, and they're doing things. And if somebody in the sports, 610, 7, one of them, do that, they'd have a groundswell and get this stereotype off AM radio. You know, when most people hear AM radio, it's just like, oh, it's the Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, white racist, and then liberal, and, you know, it's all, they think it's nothing but politics, and then when they get on the radio and you hear some of the jockeys with that same sentiment, it's like, man, I don't want to listen to that. You know, I just want to listen to some sports and laugh and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it's a process. I know these guys. I know them all personally. Have either worked with them. You know, I didn't work for Gavin Spittle. Gavin Spittle was the new program director that came in at 16 who actually pulled my show and fired me from CBS. But Gavin and I have a good working relationship. We worked through that particular incident. I understand that Gavin was mandated. What he needed, what they wanted him to do when he came in. And it was pretty clear and concise. Sports Radio 16's numbers had dipped to embarrassing low levels with the morning show with Mark Vandermeer and Andre Ware. Andre's a nice guy, but he's bad radio to listen to. That show didn't work. Mark Vandermeer is he's just too nice of a guy and sort of a marshmallow, and he doesn't reflect the blue-collar attitude of this city and this state.
Man, you got these people down to a T. I'm telling you, that's exactly that's a perfect description. Perfect.
Yeah, and I like Mark, but what it's my job with Houston Media Watch as a media critic, to be honest about my observations and people say, well, Craig, what qualifies you to, what qualifies me is that I'm very intense about listening. I listen to more sports talk than anybody. I listen to all these stations. I listen to the overnight broadcast. I'm able to do that because of my work hours, and I've worked with them personally. I know most of them personally, so that gives me a little bit upper hand on the average guy listening. But like I said, Mark and Andre's show didn't work well. The numbers dipped really, really low at that time at 610. So they made the change away from Bill Van Reinsdam and as a program director and Laurel Morris as the general manager, which I didn't agree with. But then they brought in Gavin Spittle, who's the current program director. And the first thing Gavin did now, when he came into the station, now keep in mind, morning radio and drive time radio is what pushed and drive your ratings. The first order of business Gavin did when he got to 610 was he sent out a memo that he didn't want any urban music played on the station. No hip hop, nothing. I don't want any urban music. All I want is classic rock.
That's crazy.
They reprogrammed it now. So what kind of message does that send? Forget about the public. What does that send to the? If I'm a black guy, I'm working around there. You got other black folks working that are not on the air, but they working in the station. What kind of message does that send to your employees when you come in and you prioritize something that's not even a priority? Let me explain something to you, Bodie. If my show on a Sunday night is excellent or if it sucks, it doesn't mean anything in regard to the ratings on the station, okay? So there's no way a once-a-week show should be your first order of business. But the first thing he comes in and does is he says, I don't want no urban music on this station, and you're fired, and this show is gone. So that's sending a clear message to a certain segment of your listening audience that we don't appreciate you.
Yeah, man, it's just like, I don't know, man. I hate to go there, but, man, it's like black and white drinking fountain. Hell, you can drink from this fountain, but not right now. Just for this fountain. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
that's just saying it like that, but that's the feel, man. It's just crazy.
Well, now you got to say it like you feel it, bro. That's the way you feel it. You got to say it that way. Some parts of me call it, I want to call it unintentional.
Yeah, exactly, racism, unintentional.
Because it's just really an old system of doing things. Let me be devil's advocate. Let's do it. Let's look at it this way, Bodie. Let me give these guys the benefit of the doubt. Let me put myself in their shoes. Radio is a tough business. There are not a lot of jobs to go around. There's only one morning show slot, one midday, one drive time, one evening slot per station. Houston is we got a plethora of stations. We got 4 sports talk stations in the market. And that still gives you about 9 quality jobs as far as on-air personalities, okay? Because you only got about 3 primary slots per station, so most of the slots are duos. So, about 12 to 18 folks in the city are going to have pretty decent jobs as far as on-air talent. So if I'm the people that are entrenched in those positions, and if I'm the people that are making the decisions that put people in those positions, and I'm held accountable and I'm held liable for the performance of those people, and the safe bet for me is to be safe and to stay with the core demo. Hey, these program directors have children that they got to drive to school in the morning. They got mortgages. So I understand that people are probably making decisions based on the color green more so than the color black and white. But it's all reciprocal, and and even though we understand what we understand what the reality of situations is, it doesn't mean that it's right. And no one can tell me in a city with 4 or 5 million people, however many damn people we have in this city, and 4 sports talk stations, no one is going to sit here with a straight face and tell me everything is on the up and up when you only have one person of color in the entire damn market with a full-time position. No one is going to tell me with a straight face that that's cool and that that's on the up and up, because it's not.
Yeah, it ain't, man. It ain't. It's just.
It's not, man. It's not. And that's just all it is to it. It's just not.
Yeah, but man, we gotta break through, man. We gotta break through, be competitive. That's the American way, man. Compete against them, get your brand up, and compete. And I'm supporting you, man. I'm gonna be on that station. I'm gonna be listening to y'all, man. Now that I know, man, KCOH, I listen to what's his name in the morning whenever I could pick him up.
Oh,
What's
Michael
his
Harris.
name? Michael Harris. Yeah, he's in the community. He talks a lot of community issues. I like when listen
Yeah.
to him, and it's very hard to pick up. That was the only problem.
Yeah, Michael's an award-winning broadcaster. He's been recognized. He was recognized as recently as a couple of months ago for his achievements. Um, yeah, you got historical people over there. Of course, my Ralph Cooper. Ralph name kind of speaks for itself in the market.
So let me ask you about Ralph. What happened? I mean, why isn't he on one of these stations? He's got the pedigree, and he's
Ralph was offered he was offered Michael Berry when Michael Berry was operations manager at Sports Talk 790. Matter of fact, it was during the time that I was still with Sports Radio 16, and I remember pretty well when it was occurring. Ralph Cooper was offered an opportunity to leave KCOH for Sports Talk 790, but Ralph made a decision to stay at KCOH and to continue to serve the community from that angle. Ralph is the only person that's given Black Voice an opportunity on a regular basis. If it wasn't for Ralph, guys like me would not be getting regular opportunities on the radio in the market right now. Because of some of the things we talked about today. I challenge. I'm not saying that we should wake up tomorrow morning and fire all the white guys. Let's not be ridiculous about this. What I'm saying is we need to be more fair in our decision-making process and the way we're given opportunities. And it's like any other structure in business. You're going to have to get some people of different genders and different people of color also in some of the decision-making positions. People are not going to do the right thing. If you put all black folks in charge, you put all white folks in charge, it don't matter the color of skin. What it is people are not going to do the right thing if there are not people to stay on top of them and make sure they do the right thing. And that's what it's all about. If you had nothing but black program directors working in the city, you would probably have an unbalanced amount of blacks working and not as many whites working. I'm not exonerating blacks from anything. I'm not saying that blacks would do a different or better job if they were running the market. I think the market needs to be balanced. The market needs to reflect the makeup of the city. The market needs to reflect the makeup of the country. This is the United States of America. This is a melting pot. Houston is more reflective of the demographic of the country than most cities because Houston's primary workforce is still from oil and gas industry, the medical industry because of the medical center, and the space center. So we have three different areas of mass business, of billion-dollar businesses that have brought many different people of many different backgrounds into this city. And you know that, Bodie. Houston is probably more reflective than any other city in the country of what the United States is because of those three industries, oil, space, and medicine, has made this city very, very diverse. And it's just ridiculous that we are where we are with this, but I hope that we'll be, and I'm pretty confident that eventually we will work through this thing in Houston. This is a little embarrassing for our city, and I think our city is really above it, above something like this. But if you're the guy that's on watch, if you're the guy that's the program director at one of these stations, while I'm making this campaign to increase awareness, you're going to be reluctant to respond because these guys probably feel like if I respond, it's going to look like I'm responding to it's like I'm saying Craig is right. And guys don't want to, nobody wants to be the guy that has to admit that, we were wrong. So I'm expecting and I'm predicting that the guy that will probably step up and make some significant hires of minorities and women will likely be Gavin Spillover at Sports Radio 16. Gavin just seems to be a sharper cat than the rest of these guys. John Granado doesn't know what he's doing running 15-6 of the game. He's about to run that station in the ground. They've made more changes over there in 3 years than anybody in the market. And so that means that you're not having success, and the numbers bear it out. Their numbers are horrible over there. So he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm sure David Gower is probably becoming more and more aware of that. Sports Talk 790 was under Michael Berry's run. He was inexperienced. not qualified for that job. He's not highly thought of in the circle of program directors or operation managers in radio. He's not thought of in high regard in that area. And Dave Tepper at 97.5 ESPN, the ticket, he just doesn't have a lot of power between having to answer to Bristol and to answer to the GM and another individual that I've recently been informed of that operates out of Atlanta. So, it's just going to have to be some change, and hopefully more people like you, Bodie, who are a little bit more educated and have a forum, will. I'm not saying every week guys need to eat up their entire shows with this, and I'm glad you addressed it, but it is something that we guys that have a voice need to be talking about, man.
I feel you, man. This has really been eye-opening and wonderful and pretty deep, man, as a matter of fact. And it's just, I'm glad, man. I'm so glad I have you as one of my guests, man. But I got my buddy Pool Doc. He wants to ask you a couple questions, maybe lighten the mood that we've been in. If you still want to speak on it, feel free, or you pretty much had what you want to say on that issues.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Pool Doc.
What's up? Hey, Lesbo and Craig, man, it's Doc. I usually run Bodie's sound on his show, and I've been digging through your website. It's for all y'all listening out there. It's sheltonmedia.blogspot.com. Shelton,
yeah.
Go for it, man.
Yeah.
To
log on to the website, to make it easier as far as getting onto the site. I'll just interrupt you one moment for that.
Nah, go for it, man.
Just go to HoustonMediaWatch.com. That's it. Just type in HoustonMediaWatch.com. That'll take you to the blog, because that's a shorter address than that sheltermedia.blogspot.com. Just go straight to HoustonMediaWatch.com, and you Google that, and it'll pull up, and you'll see HMW, the acronym for Houston Media Watch, and that'll put you in on the blog. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, man, I'm digging through it right now, and I got a couple of things. Number one, I heard earlier about the different programming and the different programmers out in the Houston area. And real quick, I know that you were saying that that your minorities aren't getting a lot of run in the pretty much any AM station, not just Houston, I would think. But it's really hard to answer this. I know it is, but there seems to be kind of a progression that it's gonna have to change at some point in time. But if the same old people are doing the same old thing, nothing's ever going to change. So I think that if you can get your word out there, like with HMW, and get the folks out there to at least acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying, man? I mean, we don't have to agree upon it, or we don't have to disagree, or whatever. But at least you put it out there, and it's something that needs to be acknowledged. And like I said, I really encourage listeners out there to go to Houston. Just go to HMW. And check that out. I'm in it right now. Real quick, while I'm in your website, I gotta say, brother, the ghetto recipes are freaking the bomb, bro.
Hey, man.
Hey, dude.
Man. We set that page up, man. I'll tell you a cool thing about the ghetto recipe page on the blog. We set that thing up. We wanted the blog to be. When you have a website, you have about 5 seconds. When a person comes to your website for the first time, you have about 5 seconds to keep them. Whatever they see visually, you got about 5 seconds for that visual to stick and they'll make an immediate decision whether or not they're going to scroll down or stay with you for a few minutes and do a little reading. So we wanted the website to be, kind of high energy, and when you turned it on, when you logged on, we wanted you to kind of have a visual. So we put the music player in there with a lot of different types of music, rock and hip hop and blues and a bunch of crap that I don't like, but most of it I like what's on there. But we try to put something for everybody. So we wanted some cool, laid-back things to kind of promote some fun because of the serious nature of the blog. And by us being media critics, we know a lot of time our comments are going to be controversial and they're going to piss people off. So we wanted the blog to have some fun stuff. So that ghetto recipe page is actually recipes from myself and the other associated bloggers with the blog, man. We actually cooked that stuff ourselves and took pictures of it and wrote those recipes up. So I'm glad that you appreciate the ghetto recipe page on the Houston Media Watch blog, man. Thanks a lot for mentioning.
Hey, brother, real quick while I got you, man. Number one, every time you bounce around any of your website, the damn music player pops up and blasts my ears. Yeah, but I it's cool. I can get past that. I know how to pause things. But I'm looking right now at the first one. It's you guys calling this one the sick twice baked potato skins, and them mofos look like it's something you want to get into. I like the fact that you're using the Hill Country Fare, the HEB fajitas. Those of us in San Antonio know exactly where those are in the counter. But I wanted to get into one real quick, and I like the fact that you put up pictures showing how to do these ghetto recipes on the website. Real quick, this is Stucknut Radio. We are the Bodie and Unleashed Show / Rock Show. We have Lesbian Craig on the air with us, and he's been on the air with us for almost an hour. We appreciate that a lot, and we're digging through his website right now. It's Bulldog in the House with Bodie. I wanted to get to one real quick that I am actually going to try this one. It's the ribs, man. Now, you guys have spelled out the ribs pretty good here. Just follow it to the word. Is that how I do it? Because, man, I want to impress some folks, man. Now, I ain't gonna call it the ghetto ribs or nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna call them Pool Doc's ribs, if you don't mind. But I've never had pineapples cooked into some ribs and all that stuff. So, man, fill me in on all that, man. Is that gonna work like it's supposed to, or did I just follow you straight up, man?
Well, that particular recipe is a recipe from Lamont, who is one of the primary bloggers on the site, and Lamont is one of the charter members of HMW, of Houston Media Watch. Lamont, myself, Lamont was a very well-known caller. Bodie should know who Lamont is from his calls. And Mike and Gary Ashford, who everybody knows, we're the three guys that got together, the three callers that got together and started HMW, Houston Media Watch. So that particular recipe is a recipe that Lamont does all the time, man. Those ribs, those baby back ribs with the pineapple. So I really don't feel qualified to speak on his particular recipe. That's just don't go there, man. You know what I'm saying? But
hey, Lesbian, real quick, man.
It's pretty detailed with it. The recipe is pretty detailed out, man. So have at it.
Hey, man. Hey, Craig. This is Stucknut, man, and this website. We are who we are, and we're straight up. We ask questions, and we are who we are. We're kind of like you guys, and we like to, we're straight up. And I've got a question, and I wanted to answer it. I guess I need to, if you could get Lamont to answer this and bring him on one day. I want to know where in the ghetto you guys get apple wood chips, bro. In the ghetto, they ain't no apple wood chips in the ghetto, man. I can see the mesquite. I'm digging through your website, and I'm calling you out, man. I've heard, and you've had I'm going to make this interview go directly south, and I hate to put you on the thing, but I don't know of any apple wood chips hanging out in the ghetto, man. They ain't even goddamn trees in the ghetto, bro. Where the hell you get it? That means someone's going to the store. And I don't know.
There are no applewood trees in the ghetto. You're right about that.
All right.
Now he's got a spot that he gets that wood from in his area of town where he lives out in the suburbs. He got a spot there that a guy he goes to, and they've got a wide variety of different type of woods and stuff. So. Yeah, he takes it serious, man. That's one thing about the guys that participated on that page, that particular page, man. We take that stuff serious, and we're like little schoolgirls, man. We get the cooking recipes, and we get on the phone, and we call each other, yo, man, check this out, dude. We emailing pictures and sharing secrets. So, we take our like you know the saying, man. We like to put our foot in it when we cook. Man.
No, man, I hear you. I'm just messing with it a little bit. I got one last thing that I got a problem with. There's a badass New Braunfels grill smoker that either you guys ripped that sumbitch off from the suburbs and brought it to the ghetto, but I never seen one of them goddamn grills like you guys have on this page in the ghetto. Those are my only two complaints, man. Everything else is straight up forward, bro. And I'm just playing around with you, Craig. I mean, you've been a pleasure. Our shows on Stucknut Radio, we pretty much have an open door policy, and we let our hosts come in and bring whoever they want. This has been a unique conversation with what you've been saying. I was actually taking notes. I was following your website the whole time. You've got an interesting thing going on here. I'm so glad you gave us the opportunity to bring you on the air. I know Bodie's been excited about this, and I've been excited. I know the members are too. And on behalf of our membership out here in Stucknut Radio and Stucknut Land, we invite you to hang out on our website. You're one of us, brother, and we appreciate you doing your thing. And like I said, I'm going to turn it back over to Bodie. I just wanted to get that out there, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to dog on you, but I've seen ghetto too, you know what I'm saying? I live in San Antonio. So, you know, and I had a couple of questions and you answered them right. It may be ghetto recipes, but they're not necessarily done in the ghetto. I got you, brother. I'm all over it. And once again, on behalf of Stucknut, thanks for coming on the radio. We appreciate that, sir.
Oh man, that's real talk, man. You guys have a great reputation, and we've checked you guys out before, and everyone. I became aware of stuff from listening to Jim Rome, and I know Lamont. As a matter of fact, you guys got a Facebook page, right?
Yes, sir. Stucknut. Yes, sir. We sure do.
Yeah, because we posted things on your Facebook while Lamont handles most of our web stuff service. He handles pretty much all of our web design and everything in that regard. As far as the engineering, we have another guy that does the banners and all of that. But I know we posted things on you guys' Facebook page because I can remember when Josh Ennis hosted Jim Rome, they were killing Josh Ennis on stuff nut on that Facebook page.
Hey, speaking of that, Craig, we got an interactive show here, and I got a question from one of the boys in the chat. This is Steve from Tomball, and he writes, Craig, you got me? I got a question from our interactive audience, and it's from Steve and Tomball. He says, Craig, what do you think about Josh Ennis? Dude finally got laid last week. Now that's all he talks about. What's up with that?
Well, you know what? This is my deal with Josh Ennis. I think Josh is a great orator. The guy can talk. You know, he's the white Barack Obama. Okay, he can run his damn mouth. But is he saying any damn thing? That's my issue with Josh. As a person, Josh is a cool kid. You know, I'm not into the weirdo fat kid that can't get a joke or date thing. That's really not my deal. I never had issues getting dates, so I can't relate to that. But I think he's kind of a creep and kind of weird acting on the radio and stuff. But I think it's by design. Josh is really, really smart and really talented, and I think what you get from Josh is intended. Josh intends to kind of creep you out and kind of be a goofball. He's not the greatest sports mind out there, but he's a very smart kid, and he's very talented, and I don't think he's going to be successful in sports talk, and certainly not in Houston. I just think that he's too metrosexual for Houston. I don't think Houston and our blue-collar makeup, kind of like I talked about earlier with Mark Vandermeer, I don't think that we appreciate guys like Josh Ennis. I just think he's too, like I said, I think he's just too metrosexual, and he's not a man's man. He's not our type of guy. And I think he's gonna do well in radio or TV, but I think he's gonna have to end up on the West Coast or East Coast. Because I just don't think a city like Houston is definitely gonna really truly embrace a guy like Josh Ennis. He's just too damn far out there for the average guy down here, man.
Yeah, that was exactly my thing. He was, you know, when he first came there, he was funny, and man, and then it got played out quick as hell. And then next thing you know, they're switching the time slots, but man, he just came in and burned out fast to me, man.
Yeah, he just, you know, man, you know what Houston is, man. You know, this is a hardcore city. You know, we kind of like Detroit or the South in a way. You know, we're not, you know, this is a conservative state. This is a red state, and you know, guys like Josh Ennis are welcome. You're welcome, but your take on life is probably not going to be appreciated in down south in Texas. You know, I just don't think he fits what we're all about down here. You know, we don't. I don't want to turn on a sports talk station and hear some guy at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon when I've been working all damn day or coming up I-10 pushing a damn rig cross country and trying to make it home and turn on the radio and some freakish singing 80s gay satire music on the radio on a damn sports talk station. I don't think guys in Houston want to hear that. And he just can't seem to get that out of his head that this is Sports Radio 610, the number one sports station in Houston, and it's not The View. It is not The View. You know, guys don't want to hear you doing the stuff that he does, and I just think that marriage of him and Rich Lord is doomed. I just don't see it working, man. I just don't see that working.
The only way what I was expecting from that combination was I was expecting some fire, because I wanted them some bitches to clash and damn near go to fisticuffs. Hell, that would have been a hell of a show to me. But now they're just like pussyfooting around each other and patting each other on the back, and that's so fake you can see it.
Well, Rich Lord is not a combative guy, and Josh is not a combative guy. So I can tell you now, Rich doesn't care for Josh. I mean, I've worked with Rich Lord, and I guarantee you that personality that I know to be Rich Lord and the personality that is Josh Ennis is not meshing, and it's probably not going to mesh. But Rich has kind of been put in a bad position because CBS would like for Josh Ennis to be able to develop into a maturity level that they could trust him, and Rich Lord would probably be out of a job at some point, because with the price that Rich Lord and guys like Charlie Palillo, Charlie Palillo, the highest paid sports talk host in the city, but that dude's raking in, 200,000 plus a year. And I would imagine that Rich Lord is somewhere in that ballpark, not as high as Charlie, but somewhere in that ballpark. So that was a survey done via CBS Radio about 4 years ago, and it identified Rich Lord, Charlie Palillo, John Granado, and Lance Zierlein as the top 4 voices in sports talk in the market. So clearly, if you CBS Radio, you want Josh Ennis to develop, and you can give Josh Ennis a 20% raise, and he's still nowhere in the ballpark of Rich Lord money, and you can save money because the numbers and things that Rich Lord will bring into the station, well, Rich Lord is just not going to drive a station. He's not going to drive ratings, but he's safe for the sponsors. He's the quote unquote, clean cut image that these program directors feel like they need in sports talk radio. And which I don't get that. When sports is just so grungy, and it's all about, the whole culture of sports, which is anything but, goody two shoes, so to speak. So, it's going to be interesting. That's going to be one of the more interesting dynamics to pay attention to in the market. The Josh Ennis and Rich Lord, and how that ends up playing out a year from now. It would be interesting to know if those two guys are still working together. That'd be real interesting.
Yeah, I doubted myself. But hey, let me ask you some questions locally about who shaped your opinions? Uncles, dads, family? How did your sports opinions, how were those shaped?
That's a great question. Nobody asked me that before. Baseball wise, primarily attributed to my great grandfather growing up in Bay City, Texas. I spent a lot of time in Bay City, and great granddad was a war vet. And, we sat out on the porch, man, and it was real country back in them days. He used to sit right on the porch and shoot a damn coon from the porch, man.
That's awesome.
We sit there and listen to Astros baseball on the radio back when I was a little kid, man. I'd sit on my granddad's lap, man, and he'd be talking to me about baseball. So I grew up as a big baseball fan. We went to Astro games during the week, when they were in town, during the school weeks, a couple nights a week. I mean, I came from a baseball family. Now, football is interesting, man. My great aunt was the biggest football fan in the family. She was also the family's quote unquote number one Christian. But even on Sundays during football season, she made sure she got out of church early because she was not going to miss Earl Campbell and those Oilers, man. So
hey, on that, man, my mama, she's a hell of a Rocket fan. Because me and my brother, we played ball in high school, and it was shit. There's some bits. I was like, God, Mama, she's a Christian too. It's crazy, but man, that son of a bitch, that's a foul. I was like, man, she just caught on because we was always watching Rockets back in the day. Alan Level, Robert Reed. Oh man, I've been a Rocket fan since 70s, 80s.
Yeah. Now basketball was a little bit different. I would say my basketball fandom just kind of came on its own. That was just something I just developed. It's just being a sports fan, football and baseball, and then, just the natural flow of the baseball, football, basketball seasons, crossing up with each other. As a kid, I just, started following basketball too. Moses Malone and Rudy Tomjanovich, Calvin Murphy, that generation of Rockets was a generation of Rockets that I really, I would say, probably started following as a kid. And I attributed, my dad lived on the West Coast. My biological father and mom wasn't married, but my stepdad, he wasn't a huge sports guy, man. He was more about his Thunderbird, man. As long as he had him about a Thunderbird and he could get up early enough to go to work and sleep it off, that was his sports. He wasn't really a big sports guy, but man, my dad, being out on the West Coast, man, he was out in the chasing women, man. He wasn't really a big sports guy either. I got most of my sports came from my great granddad and my great aunt, man, are the two people I would have to attribute it to.
Well, hell, on your dad on the West Coast, that's a damn sport itself, chasing women, man.
yeah, man. Yeah. He's yet to retire, I can say that.
All right, real quick. Let me pay you some bills. You're listening to Stucknut Radio at www.stucknut.com. We have on the air right now, we have Lesbian Craig. You guys can catch him at Houston Media Watch. This is we're going on over an hour right now, and the Houston guys are enjoying the hell out of this. So you guys just keep it rolling. I'm in charge of paying bills over here, as you can tell, Lesbian. So I got to take care of some of these things real quick. But a real candid interview. I encourage you guys to go check out that website. It's once again, it's Houston Media Watch. Just all kinds of interesting things. The whole website's going to take a while, so y'all dig yourself in there real quick and just kind of chill in there and make sure you get around that whole site because it just keeps coming at you the whole time you're running through there. Once again, I was reading through there real quick, and I know you mentioned about The Godfather. That's on KCOH 1430 AM. Is that the station that you're going to actually be on, sir? Do you have a show on that station right now? And if you do, what time is it so that people can listen?
Right now, I'm a guest. I co-host with Ralph Cooper, the Godfather of Sports Talk in Houston. I co-host with him on Tuesdays from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Sports Rap. And they can get that. They can go to urbanwebcast.com. urbanwebcast.com and just click, you can just search urbanwebcast.com/Ralph Cooper and it'll pull it right up and you can actually, you can view us in studio via that avenue, or you can just go to kcohradio.com. If they're local or you just don't want to stream and you want to go on and listen on the AM dial, it's 14